Hello, everybody. Welcome to Industry Insider. This is a podcast that provides in-depth, one-on-one discussions about video games, game design, and the intimate perspective of what it's like to work inside the industry. This is hosted by me, Dai, a professional video game developer. I'm here to conduct casual interviews, hoping to educate and inspire developers of varying skill levels and consumers alike. Today's guest is a very special one. His name is Mike Hales. He is an accomplished 2D, 3D artist that has worked on some popular IPs such as Ninja Turtles, along with collaborating with the Mighty Booshes. He's also had a hand in knifetank, squirrelwarz, and worked with companies like T-Mobile. His Twitter is linked in the description. Without further ado, hello, Mike. How are you?
Hello there. How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. I got off work today, and I've just been thinking about this interview the entire day today. To be honest with you.
Yeah, me as well. Me as well. I did some shopping, but I think, and I have a roommate moving in this month, so I've been
that's
kind
exciting.
of planning for that. And I reconstructed like my whole room in 3D just to see where all my furniture is gonna go because I'm learning Blender, and I thought so. I wanted to put a rug in there, so I wanted to import the rug into the actual blend file so I can actually check out the room to see if the rug works. And it kind of worked. So it was neat.
You know, this is the first this is the first case where I've ever heard anybody using Blender to model their room to make sure dimensions are right. And to be honest with you, I'm envious to think that I did not do it myself first.
It is a great way to check out to see if the rug you want is actually going to fit in your room or your work with your furniture. So I would highly recommend it. Yeah.
I'm gonna learn to do that. I'm gonna spend some time in Blender doing that myself. Blender was one of the first few things that I learned for game development, actually.
Oh, that's cool. I love Blender. It's so, I don't want to say it's easy to use, but it does feel user friendly, especially after the changes like in 2020. Like they made that one monumental change that kind of just they reconfigured the whole UI, and it just
it clicked. For me, it clicked way better than it has before. And also, I was really very appreciative of them supporting FBX a lot more. So like making assets and importing them into Unreal has been easier than ever than it was, I don't know, when I started, like 2015.
Oh man, I still have so much to learn. And that's the great thing. I'm glad there's still a lot to learn. It keeps life interesting. So.
Well, yeah, like I'm just constantly trying to learn new things. So today, actually, I'm here to interview you, but I just wanted to say it is so great to finally formally sit down and talk to you. I know we've actually interacted on social media a whole lot, and it was actually completely happenstance how I ended up being friends with you. I guess mutuals with you.
So this is what happens. I think so. I feel like we just met on the internet, and then you on Twitter, and then I think I did. Yeah, then I did a drawing request for you, and then
I think you commented on one of my friends, Deinhardt, and then
Deinhardt.
Okay.
And
I was like, oh, this guy's art seems cool. Your profile picture, I'm actually very I don't know why, I just really like that. I think it's super cool. So I clicked on your account and I was like, yo, this guy is pretty cool. And so I just decided to interact with you and follow you. And then from there, I was like, my brother's birthday is coming up. So why don't I just commission something for him? He is a huge Weekend fan. And I was like, what better than to have an artist who I like your art. To have him, to support an artist, and two, be able to buy a piece that's basically one of one. So yeah.
Yeah, that was a neat request because I honestly had no idea who it was. So I got to investigate him and actually listen to all his music, and he's a pretty stylish dude. So I was Yeah, so I forget. It was maybe one of his first albums. I'm not sure, but he read that the red suit with the black tie, I think.
Oh yeah, After Hours. That was his pandemic album.
It was a slick suit. So yeah, good reference.
Yeah, and I just thought to myself, I was like, wow, this is because my younger brother really, 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 really loves that album. So I just figured I was actually I was in the middle of a Hobby Lobby when I was responding to you, and I could not, for the life of me, think of anything. And I looked over to my significant other, and my significant other was like, well, Dave really loves The Weeknd, and I was like, it works out, genius. So so that's actually how it ended up happening.
Yeah, that's cool. So I posted a video on TikTok, and and the thing is, when I do a drawing video, so with this request, I thought it was the perfect excuse to make another drawing video.
Yeah,
and I do a bunch of drawing videos on TikTok, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I decided to get one last year, and I've got a bunch of drawing videos up there now. But for whatever reason, I decided just to ignore all the advice about how to make TikTok videos, and I use my own music. So
yeah,
I just use this as an excuse to also like make a remix of one of his songs to post, because that's what I do with all of my videos. Because I don't like to use other people's music, because
makes sense.
I think I just wanted to make a whole. I just like to make a whole like Ekim Tiki experience. But the thing is, TikTok didn't like that particular remix because they tagged it immediately.
Really?
They recognized the song, so I just decided to actually use his actual song, which is already on TikTok. So.
Yeah. Oh,
so
wow.
no one will ever hear the remix.
Oh well, I will gladly listen to the remix. Upload it on YouTube.
Actually, for some reason, Instagram let me upload the remix, so it's actually on Instagram.
Oh, perfect. I would definitely have to check that out.
Yeah.
So, while we're on the topic, how is social media it's not attacked. How has attaching social media to your career helped you and your art? You know, again, I saw that you opened up a TikTok, and of course you just spoke about Instagram.
Yeah, so social media has been interesting. It actually leads to like a larger picture of as far as like my career, my quote unquote career. Because I've always been kind of, I think I've always been kind of split as far as desire of like where I want to go next in my career. But before we talk about that, as far as social media and TikTok, TikTok surprised me because I didn't have an account before August of last year, and I started doing like these drawing videos and like animation videos when the pandemic happened. So really, when the pandemic happened, that was kind of a really good excuse to open the doors to actually start learning things and doing experiments like the, I don't want to say social experience because that sounds weird, but social networking experiences. But anyways, started learning animation, started learning Blender, started doing stuff like that. And I started using an app called Byte, and that was my first like video social networking app, because I can post animation and drawing videos and stuff. But they soon kind of closed down, so I just decided to use TikTok reluctantly, because I was kind of avoiding TikTok because it was mostly known for like performers, like musicians or dancers and things like that, and I didn't think I had a place on there at all. So I didn't really know if I would even fit in. So Byte seemed to make more sense because it felt like a smaller community. just artists and regular people
Mhm.
posting stuff. So,
Well,
um,
did you find your groove or your lane? Did you find that it was oddly welcoming?
yeah, yeah, it really surprised me actually. So, um, I I started doing my thing. I'm Ecom Tiki too on
Hmm.
TikTok because my first Ecom Tiki account, I sort of forgot the password, so
It
I brought back
happens.
to it.
It
So
happens.
yeah, I'm fudged there, um, but yeah, I was really surprised. I just started posting as usual, and then I had the weird idea of just attaching my helicopter rescue music to it,
Hmm.
to the background, and using the tag Plunderphonics because it's that's basically the category of music it kind of belongs in. Um, and it's the video started getting like some serious views and likes, and I was surprised to get like 200 likes and views on TikTok when I started. It was like neat. Um, and then after every other video, they just started getting higher and higher, and soon enough, there was one video that just went viral, and it took me by surprise. And I probably should not speak of it because Plunderphonics is the kind of thing where people make music and they kind of live in the gray area of copyright
Mm.
infringement. And if you're not familiar with the Plunderphonics type of
No, no,
music,
I am not actually.
um, it's basically I don't know if I want to say it's a derivative, but maybe it's a derivative of hip hop
Hmm.
because it's basically the idea of taking a couple of sources, maybe a beat, maybe a sample from movies or television or music, and putting it together into a nice soup, and then making a new soup, a new thing. Um, and yeah, so Plunderphonics is like it's like sample based music. And one really good example of Plunderphonics is this band called Negative Land.
Mm.
They're pretty well known for doing Plunderphonics type music, and they've used a lot of music from albums. I think they got away from sampling some Michael Jackson albums a
Oh
couple of
wow,
times.
that's
I think they
impressive.
I think they went through a few lawsuits before they may have won. I'm not quite sure
Yeah.
how that worked out, but you can still listen to their music online. So
I'm gonna have
uh,
to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
I think the idea of fair use falls into play when you do Plunderphonics because as long as you change the sample long enough, as long as it's changed enough, I think you can get away with using it.
Hmm.
And it's not if it's not too long and it's like a little bit different from the original, you can kind of get away with it. But I'm definitely yeah I'm definitely like walking the edge as far as putting my music out there. So
Well, I mean,
um,
I'm actually I admire the fact that you are such a multifaceted artist. You do 2D, 3D, and then now I just learned you make music and such. So it's like your not repertoire, your portfolio seems to get larger and larger by the day. How do you handle that? And how do you relegate time for these kinds of skills? Because for me, I find it very hard to sit down and dedicate time to learning Blender and then studying level design and then learning how to write and I mean doing art my own self actually, and then doing a bunch of other things like I'm in the middle of learning how to make a song right now. So yeah.
oh cool. Um, I I would I mean I would mention like stuff like time management
Hmm.
things you could do. But I also would chalk it down to mental bandwidth. Um, I guess what that means is especially, oh man, especially now with social media being so addictive. Um, like, yeah, making time for stuff can be a challenge, especially with folks with ADHD like myself. And I've been able to muster it, but um, I think, yeah, yeah. So finding time. Um, as far as the music, yeah, that's the kind of thing that I'll just devote the evening to. Um, and I feel like that's kind of an evening thing. It's always been kind of like my screw around time.
Okay.
For doodling or making a drawing video or making music and yeah, so it's like I'll just devote my evening time for that. And so it's like I could play a video game, and I like video games. I love video games, but I could also make a drawing video or a painting or a new song for the thing. So it's really I kind of have to sacrifice certain things to get other things done. And lately, my sacrifice is, well, I don't really have to play video games right now. And plus my PS4 is not hooked up, so that's even better. But I do miss playing video games, but video games and definitely played a huge part in my life. But I would say that as a creator, that is like that, and maybe social media or a couple of things that you might have to sacrifice in order to start making time to create stuff. So,
Yeah, over the pandemic, I actually sacrificed playing video games in large for my career. So it has been. I actually just recently started playing games again, heavily. Anyways, I've played a few games over the last year with my significant other, but those, when I look at the time charts, those pale in comparison to the games that I'm currently playing now. Before I was playing maybe like 20, 30 hours a month, and now I mean, with Elden Ring just being out, I mean, I put 70 hours in it within the first couple weeks. So yeah.
Man, yeah, the game. So, man, the games I play. So, I do play a game like maybe. So when I live in a small apartment, and I don't have a living room. I have like my desk to sit at and like eat. So when I do that, that's when I play a video game. And,
okay.
And the game that I'm currently obsessed with for some reason is Slay the Spire on Steam.
Oh yes, I'm aware of that. I do know that game.
I'm actually surprised at how addictive it is for me. And I don't even know if it's addiction. I think it's
It's fun.
It just has really good replayability because it has layers that you can open up even after you've kind of leveled up all the characters. So it's fascinating. It definitely has really good replayability. But yeah, that's like the only game I'm currently playing right now. There's one more game I'm playing, which is really cool combination of like comic book art and I guess point and click adventure game, or like it's kind of like it's like conversation game, but it's called I don't know. I know the name. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's not Hollow Knight. Yeah, shit. All right. I forgot the name.
It's all good. It happens. I'm sure it'll come back to you.
Another game that it's like, it'll pop up in the next couple of minutes.
Hey, when it comes back to you, let me know. All right. Let's talk about your career a little bit. Again, you were to me, you're an accomplished artist. To you, I'm sure that you may feel different. But again, I'm a fan of your work, and you seem to have a nice category of works that you've had a hand in. So let's talk about that, or we can start from the beginning.
Yeah. So I've had a weird career, I guess, as far as video games. I will say, as far as video games is concerned, I have always kind of existed on the outskirts of game development. In that I've never really worked on a AAA video game. Um, I've always worked for like small independent companies, and actually most of the companies I've done games for weren't game companies. For example, I worked at my first job. Okay, well, yeah, the first job that I worked with that I'm proud of that I'll talk about is I worked at Danger, at this company called Danger in Palo Alto, and they created like the first flip phone that was that came before the iPhone that had like everything like the web, email,
Okay.
SMS messaging, and like everything you could possibly have on the iPhone. It kind of had before it, but it was like a flip phone, and it felt like a game controller because it had just the right buttons for playing games as well on it. So I was working in the division where we developed the games for the system. And their most notable phone, I guess, that people may have heard of is the T-Mobile Sidekick series. And I developed game. Well, I helped develop work on art for games like titles like Bob's Journey, Pomp Jack, a few other things that no one may have heard of. I guess anything. Is it true that like anything 10 years, like anything that's like 20 years old or more is basically considered vintage, or is that is that I get that feeling that's what's happening.
Yeah,
So,
I would I mean, I guess the internet would consider that. I don't think 20 years is that long ago, but when we look at the statistics or when we look at the actual numbers, 20 years ago was 2002. So I was eating dirt then.
yeah. So okay. So I guess I'm really old, but I don't I don't usually feel old, which is really weird.
Which is good. That is a great thing.
It does not feel that just it does not feel like a long time. Anyways, yeah, it's like time is really weird. Anyways, so I helped make these games. And so the most notable thing I want to bring up is that I got this job because of my brother, who's Steve Hales, and he was a game developer when he was in his 20s. He actually no, I think he started making games in his teens, but he was notable for making a game called For Apocalypse for I guess for the Atari, but for a lot of platforms back then, before the internet, before everything. Yeah, the 80s. So that's
so
when that
wow,
happened.
he was part of the dark ages of video game development.
Yeah,
Back when large studios were like 12 people.
He did the best he could do with what he had to work with. So and I would think for the time they did some really interesting stuff. And I also happen to live through it, so I'm that old. And so yeah, so he wanted to start the game team. His contribution was games, but he also the other thing that was notable was that he was kind of known for the audio component of working on the device. So that was also his expertise. But and after games, that's sort of what he works on now, just the audio components of devices. So, but yeah, so I will say it's because of him that I got into game dev. I will say I did have a job in 1991 when I was like fresh out of high school as a teen, and I was probably the worst employee ever because I did not know how to behave myself in a company, and yeah, I mean it was a huge learning experience, but yeah, I can't imagine if I was. I can't imagine if I. Yeah, it's. Anyways, that was a short-lived experience, but yeah, I would say my career really took off when I started working at Danger for mobile games, and it's really weird because that was still kind of before the internet as we know it today, and it's really weird to say that, but yeah, that gives me pause. I haven't reflected on that for a while, so
I'm sorry to be bringing up what feels like nightmares.
No, but it's and you know when the iPhone came out, it was pretty awesome. Not it was awesome because it was just an interesting time to see technology advance so quickly at that time. And after that, so I'm going on tangents after tangents.
Danger.
So
Your time
yeah,
at Danger, yeah.
So I worked there for a couple of years, and they were actually doing well for a while, and of course, you know, things happen. The iPhone gets introduced, and I think the iPhone was a game changer for mobile devices and for games. So I think that was that was basically when Danger, everyone there decided to part ways, and everyone just moved on to new things. And so, of course, the next project also involved my brother because we started another little game group in a media company in San Mateo, making more games, but for the iPad this time.
Oh wow!
iPad, iPhone. So basically, that was the Mighty Boosh. And that was also squirrelwarz, and that was a very good experience as well because I not only to work with my brother, but I also got to work with one of my best friends, Doctor Popular, and I don't know if you know him, but that would be an interesting character to talk to as well.
No, but I'm sure we can get acquainted.
But yeah, and that kind of segues with like being an artist and making music as well. So, because he's kind of all involved in that as well, and so it was really cool to actually collaborate with him on a video game or a couple of video games, and I think. Let's see. So we did them. So together we worked on this game called the Mighty Boosh, and it was probably the weirdest highlight to my career because I got to actually meet the Mighty Boosh to work on this game, and the game was actually called The Mighty Decider, and for reasons that'll go in later, but. Yeah, it's a weird thing when celebrities or I guess you can call them celebrities. Celebrities are actually attached to like the thing you're making, like games. Meeting them, and it's only just weird because it's like really you're just meeting other artists that are contributing to the thing you're making, but I don't know. At the time, I was kind of starstruck because I kind of they're kind of a British comedy troupe that they were really going off, getting famous in the UK, and they were just starting to get big in the US, um, and they've been around for a while, but yeah, if you haven't checked them out, it's pretty weird, pretty good, pretty funny, pretty weird stuff, but yeah, collaborating with them was like basically we had a prototype already designed that was basically in the style of like an old-timey carnival ride, a carnival attraction app, and we had all the art made for that, but they decided they wanted to skin it with their own kind of look and design, so they ended up like doing most of the graphics.
Wait. So you're telling me that you had something prepared for them,
Oh yeah.
and then they basically said, "This is cool, but let's do it our way."
Yeah. I think, and it's because I think that may have been the only reason we were able to actually work with them, because they just wanted to dictate the look and feel of it. And
okay.
because they used their own personalities and their voices in order to contribute to the app. And I will also say, it's not necessarily a game, and I feel really bad about this.
Oh, why?
Calling it a game, because
No, you can call it a game.
It was really one of those apps that were popular at the time on iPhones, where it's like it's the decision making app. So I don't know why
it's interactive, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I would call it a game.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would need this app or need any app like that. But, we decided let's just do a decision making app, and I think that just kind of fit the comedy troupe, because they could lend their personality to each like little decision making thing you could do on the app. And I don't even know if the app is available anymore. So
I will check that out. I'm actually gonna run to Google real quick and try to see if I could download it.
Oh man, there is an interview with the Mighty Boosh. They get interviewed and asked questions about the app, and they're a little bit snarky about it, and I would say it's appropriate, because it's a weird situation as a comedy troupe to like lend their presence to like a decision making app, but it was a ridiculous time.
It was only up for a year,
yeah,
which is kind of wild.
Yeah, that was a trip.
Did you find their, what's it called? Wow, they were on Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, that was the interview. I think they were asked about the app, and they were pretty snarky, but I don't care.
Hey, that's all good. Did you find that their working with them was intrusive to your process, or was it something like you were happy to have somebody come in and kind of have a singular vision, so it helped speed things along?
So, as much as I loved making a skin, like a carnival themed skin for it, which I wish we could use for something else, but as much as I loved doing that process and designing it, I was kind of okay with them kind of coming in and having like art direction. They actually had a really particular look and feel and style to their whole presence in the show and in print as well. They actually came out with an art book about their backgrounds of the characters, and it was full of photos and like little art puzzles and art things and mostly humorous. But yeah, they definitely had an aesthetic. So I was okay with the whole aesthetic, and I actually got to do a lot of Flash animation. So I think that was the one time I used a lot of Flash as well to do like an animated background, and like I animated a few of the backgrounds, but I think most of the animation I can think a lot of the animation and a lot of the stuff like that was done by Dr. Popular. So, and he also was the art director as well. I think so. He I think did most of the talking with them, but we did get a chance to actually go to UK and meet the lead the people who put the production together, to kind of like talk about what this app is and what it means. So that was a neat experience, even though it was just for like a decision making app. And and I guess so. Then and the only other project we were able to work on was squirrelwarz. It's like third person. It's kind of like it's like what do you call it? A real strategy, like a real time strategy game.
Tower defense.
What's that?
Tower defense.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, RTS, real time strategy.
Yeah. And it was neat. It's squirrels. You have to select the squirrels and like gather nuts from trees and like assemble towers and defend your base. And it was really cute, and it was a huge learning experience as well. I wish it would have done better, but it definitely had some things that could have been improved. That we noticed later, but it's okay. I think it was a great experience, and it's always fun to collaborate with people on projects. So I think after that I kind of moved on to like another company called Sifteo, which is a completely different system that they created. So stop me if I'm like.
No, it's all good. Hey man, keep going. Do your thing.
I'm gonna get some water real quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, yeah. So, forgive me. Like, as far as like rambling on and talking about like my career and my past and whatnot, not used to it. So, I'm trying to get a feel for it. So it's like I'm trying to, not bunch everything all at once. So,
it's all good. Once you get into the flow of things, you'll find that often that you'll hit the big markers, the bullet points. You know.
I'm really trying to. I'm going to try to focus on the bullet points. So Sifteo was also kind of on the edge of game development because we made games.
Yeah.
But we definitely didn't get as much attention as like AAA games. So which is unfortunate, because their platform was really cool, and they created this really innovative platform where they took these interactive cubes that you kind of mush together and in different ways to interact with things on the screen, to move them around. They were trying to kind of compete with other handheld devices, which was a huge challenge. And so we did our best to make some cool games that utilize the way the pieces like work together, and it was neat. It was really challenging to design games for that platform, and my role was weird because I didn't necessarily do final art. I think it was the first job where I was kind of in charge of doing things that I didn't necessarily know how to do, and I think I was a little bit overwhelmed. So
was that one of those things that you just showed up on set and they were just like, all right, you're doing this now?
It was more like, it's like I found myself. I think they had the expectation that I would be managing people, and I had never managed people before, like like other artists on things, and that was really weird, and only because I didn't know ahead of time, and I think I did a horrible job. So
well, I mean, the product launched, right?
well, the product launched.
So I'm sure you did perfectly fine.
And the other notable experience that I had, which was also a weird experience, was with a game that didn't get published, but it was called We Warriors, and it was um, basically the story that was conjured up by I think Richard Garfield, and we got a chance to work with him for a while. Magic, he's the creator of Magic the Gathering, the card game.
That's
Um,
so cool. I actually used to spend Friday nights in high school playing Magic. I actually still have my Star City Games punch card.
it it is such a cool game that I wish I had a chance playing it when I was a kid, because it's such a cool looking game. Especially just I I just love all the artwork on the cards, and just the lore behind all the characters, and I would collect them for that alone if I got into it when it came out. So that was a cool experience, but the game didn't publish, and again, it was kind of a startup company, and they kind of got to a point where they decided to stop doing the thing and move on and do something else. And so
Can you talk a little bit about working for a product that doesn't get published? I mean, fortunately, I've had the experience of having my product published, but I only ever hear people working on things for 4 to 5 years with an NDA, and then they can't talk about it. So if there's anything you can talk about, yeah, how was it? How was it working on a product that didn't ship?
It is disheartening. It does feel bad, and I don't think I'm under any NDA at the moment as far as games that didn't launch. As at least I don't think I am. But I was definitely disappointed. But I was I kind of made peace with it, only because I did get paid to do the work, so there's that. And I did learn a lot. I got to meet some interesting people, and yeah. So I think the experience itself was very cool. I will say, in the environment, there was no crunch time, so it wasn't like your average game company where they're about to release a product on a known platform and they got to crunch really hard to fix all the bugs and all that stuff. I thankfully we didn't experience that, because it's just, we know it was our own platform, and in the case with like Danger again, yeah. So it's like most of the game dev experience I've had were with companies that created their own platforms for their games. So it was a weird experience. So,
But that's like really, really cool though, because I've come from a background where I've had established platforms. So was it like working with proprietary technology, or was it one of those things where you put the Legos together as you go? You put the brick down as you're building the road.
yeah. Oh well, yeah. So especially with Sifteo, with the Sifteo cubes, literally, yeah. I were you talking about the Sifteo cubes, or
No, just in general.
Oh, a metaphor. Yeah, right.
But the Sifteo cubes is cool. I think I remember seeing a commercial about it.
I'd say proprietary. Yeah, that was the other kind of downside, because as far as Sifteo and Danger is concerned, those games didn't really launch anywhere else. They were kind of stuck within that platform. And I know there are people that own the IP to some of those games, and I'd love to see them on some other platform, but like wrangling the rights to make those games can be difficult. So, um, so anyways, yeah, it was. There's that. But overall, I'm not too disappointed that the app, some of the things didn't launch. I think I'm just grateful that I got paid to do it and that I had some experience along the way. So
Yeah, because again, I was just afraid that you had a horror story for us. So that was that. I mean, it's nice. It's a breath of fresh air to hear that. Yeah, you got paid and everything went semi well, and then you moved on to the next project.
semi well, yeah. I I do have a horror story if you really need to hear a horror story, but it's more of a personal horror story. But
Hey, if you want to share it, go ahead. I'm here for it.
bullet points. I'll focus on bullet points. That's how we'll get through it. So I think basically after Sifteo, I started doing. I didn't go back and work for a company. I started doing freelance, doing little projects, and that's where I got the chance to do this game called Electropocalypse. And that's also a game that's kind of hard to find, but you kind of find some things on YouTube, like interviews. But it was a cool concept. It was basically an app. It was a game to teach kids how to learn electronics and make things in using electricity. And so it had all the components you can play with, and it also had like a little backstory with the characters. And I got to use my comic book making chops to make a comic book to go along with the game. So yeah, I used to self-publish comic books too. So there's that.
That's again, you are continually becoming cooler and cooler by the second.
I think ultimately, I guess I am a jack of all trades, and I think that may have been detrimental in actually forming like a legitimate lasting career in game dev. But yeah, but that could be another conversation for another time. But yeah, so back to the horror story. So the horror story was basically I think I kind of burned out on game dev for a while. I think it was partly due to the stress, but also partly due to the fact that I had a couple of desires as far as like where I wanted to go career wise, and part of me really wanted to be an artist, an illustrator. Or make a name for myself as an artist, an illustrator, or a painter, or something like that. And unfortunately, I didn't really know how to actually put myself out there and like market myself. And I'm not sure if I'm not sure if the ADHD had anything to do with it, but I was not good with networking. I was not good with marketing myself. Even with social networking, using the apps, I was kind of shy on the apps. I was just kind of like I'd just post artwork and then just leave it there to be. So yeah, so went through burnout, experienced that. I pivoted. I pivoted. I hate using that word, but I decided to I needed like to work in a completely different job, so I started working at Pete's Coffee as a barista, and I did that for 4 years, and that really helped me because it just helped me get out of my shell as far as like my shyness towards people, and it really helped me be able to have a conversation with people and get used to working in a fast-paced environment and just talk to people, and especially on demand, like just trying to convince someone to buy something or sell them something, or at least talk about something you're interested in or excited about. And yeah, I still need, yeah. Anyways, I did that for 4 years, and I think so. The pandemic basically, I got furloughed in the pandemic, and that kind of ended. And I thought I was going to move to Los Angeles, but I didn't, and I just kind of got stuck here, in San Francisco. So
wow, I have a lot of love for San Francisco.
Oh,
I went to school there.
too.
UC Berkeley, baby.
Oh, awesome.
Go Bears.
Awesome. I went to Academy of Art College when it was cheap, in the 90s. And so yeah, that's another thing. I felt really kind of privileged to experience that when it was affordable to experience it. And yeah, and I think oh yeah. Oh man, I'm just going out of order here. Yeah, so I experienced burnout in like 2013-14. But the other thing was that I had gotten there was someone who had committed suicide in my building when I was working at the company in San Mateo working on squirrelwarz. It was a young lady, and it just kind of took us by surprise. And the aftermath is really what like really did me in, because basically the company, a couple of higher ups and me as well got accused of like conspiracy of I think conspiracy of murder or something like that. I had never accused of anything.
Yeah, I'm sorry to laugh. I'm so sorry. That was
yeah,
that's a lot. That is a lot.
yeah. No, you can imagine. So that started happening when I was working at Sifteo, and that's when I started like getting burned out and like not being able to focus on work, because it's I would not recommend getting accused of anything really.
I'm gonna I'm gonna note that. Make sure not to get accused of murder anytime soon.
It's really sad. I went out to lunch with her one time and then had a conversation like in the elevator with her, but like I don't know. Anyways, it was her parents were going through a lot, I think. They were in Canada, and I think I don't know, but I suspect English was her second language, and she was really quiet, didn't really speak much. So that could have been, there could have been something there, but still, like when it's that was the second suicide I had experienced in my life as far as people around me committing it. The first one was a friend back when I was much younger, a friend of a family that I used to hang out with, and it's just really weird. But yeah, being accused of anything involved in something like that, it lasted for a couple of years, and I never went to trial. Like they kind of like settled everything.
Like dissolved.
It's all resolved, and they all settled it.
That's
it was resolved.
I'm excited for you. I'm happy for you.
It took a couple of years to resolve. But yeah, I felt bad for the family, and I felt bad for people that work there. But I don't know. Yeah. It could have been like stress related, or just like not knowing many people. I don't know. I can't really speculate, but it just the aftermath was yeah. I think I actually don't know if that contributed to my ADHD or not, but
Hmm.
probably a little bit. Not sure. I mean, I don't want to blame that for anything. It is what it is, but I definitely think that had an impact at a certain point. So, um, yeah, so I just wasn't able to like make anything or work or do anything for a while, and kind of slowly running out of money that year. So yeah, so it was 2016 when I decided that I needed to get out of my weird funk and just go to get a job anywhere. So I just forced myself to get a job at Pete's Coffee, and because I love coffee
Hmm.
and I needed an excuse to get up and get out of my house every day. So
Well,
um,
I'm actually super glad that you were able to pull yourself up out of the hole. I mean, that this is definitely a defining moment for you.
I think so. Yeah, I haven't really talked about it, and yeah, this is I'm experiencing the first of many things in this interview right now. So
Well,
um,
if it's negative, I apologize. But if it is positive, then I'm glad that you were able to get it off your chest.
um, I'm I'm actually really glad to have the interview. I would definitely love to have more chats, just have more conversations. I think especially, oh man, especially with the pandemic. I think that's also a thing that just kind of
I mean, I
screwed
could.
with people's heads a
Yeah,
lot.
let's pivot a lot because it happened a lot to me. So I actually okay. So this might actually be a little bit like existentialism. So
Oh, I love it.
you could
I've gone there.
you could stop me at any moment in time. But I do want to ask you. I mean, how was the pandemic on your career, on your mental health, or working from home, even if you did spend time doing that? Because it seems to me, I was actually thinking about it today at work. It seems to me that the more we got more connected, like we as a people got more connected over the pandemic, but I've unfortunately never felt lonelier.
Yeah. Um, that's a good point. I I will say I will say that it was great. It was fantastic. Now that I look back on it, I probably should not have enjoyed it, but I it was great because I'm an introvert,
Hmm.
and I mostly stay at home anyways doing things, and it I kind of just eased into it, and it allowed me more time to learn Blender. I started learning Blender around
Hmm.
that time, and I started doing animation. I started learning animation on this app on the iPad called Flip a Clip. It was really easy and fun to use, and started posting more on social media with those animations. Um, and started getting into video editing because of that as well. So I just started learning a lot of weird stuff that ended up being interconnected while experiencing that. Um, and yeah, I see. I think it was mostly positive, and yeah, I think it was mostly positive for me. I mean, thankfully, thankfully, I don't know anyone who's suffered COVID or have died from COVID, thankfully. So I know I've heard it's horrible, and I definitely don't think it's going away anytime soon. But I feel very lucky, privileged, the fact that I kind of avoided it so far, and most of my friends and family have avoided it so far. So that's cool. Um, Yeah, but it's definitely that part of it's really kind of stressful. Just trying to stay safe, and now feeling like a weirdo because I still want to stay safe while everyone is kind of like,
Out and about.
yeah, just kind of to pretend feel it's like they're kind of pretending that it doesn't exist anymore. It's like, hey, it's everything's
Hey,
cool.
we're
We're
it's
back
over
to normal.
now, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
kind of
nerve-wracking. It's
yeah.
it drives my anxiety through the roof. Because I'm like, do you guys not care? Because like, it's very unfortunate I have to say this, but we had two COVID related deaths. We
Uh,
actually, sorry, not COVID related. They were actually caused by COVID. We had two COVID deaths at work, at my site, and all like my friends got COVID, and my younger sister got COVID, which was terrifying because then we basically had to lock down the house to make sure that my mother was safe. And it was a very nerve-wracking time. It felt like I was just always on thin ice. And
oh,
it just wasn't good. I'm sure I've had it. I unfortunately, we were crunching at the time, so I was still obligated to come to work. So I had it, and we all I feel like everybody in the building had it at one point in time, but we still had to come to work. And it was just, I don't know, it just felt detrimental to my mental health because it was like, how expendable can we be, during this entire situation?
yeah.
Yeah, my compensation was like $180 for working through the pandemic.
Oh,
Which
wow.
I mean, it is what it is. But moving on, it just yeah, it was very serious, and it was kind of crazy. Like I never expected it. And the craziest part was that I had just came home from Vietnam, so I had just came home from being home. So
Oh,
I
wow.
had landed
Yeah.
in the United States, and then we were instantly on lockdown.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Just yeah. I can imagine traveling at that time. It was just unbearable. Anywhere. Uh, man, yeah, and a lot of weird things about the whole pandemic. Like, it's bad enough that this is like um that it's a disease that people are catching, that getting sick from, but it's another thing that it's kind of become like politicized and turned into like an excuse for a cultural war. And that's also the weird aspect of this whole thing. It's like that's even making it worse because it's because of the of making it of turning it into like part of a culture war that is the reason why so many people aren't taking it seriously anymore.
Hmm.
And that kind of pisses me off. But
I mean, yeah, it's very unfortunate to see on the news the basically people that look like me getting blamed, attacked, harassed, and even killed.
yeah,
It's very. I know at one point in time, a bunch of my friends and coworkers had texted me like, "Please be safe, getting home," and I don't know. It was a very.
how have you been holding up? By the way, as far as that's concerned.
um I think it's because it's not home. Does that make sense? Like it's not in my backyard, which is really really odd because I live in Virginia. So during the Charlottesville riots, if you remember those,
I don't know.
it was a couple years back, maybe it was 3 years back, 4 years back, 2018, 2019, something like that. A bunch of white supremacists marched in Charlottesville, which is literally in my
Oh,
backyard, and,
okay. Yeah.
and I was like, okay, this is very, very close to home. But when COVID happened, it seemed like everything was happening in like New York, San Francisco, Florida, Midwest, that kind of stuff. So it felt very far away from me.
Huh. Okay.
So there was a little bit of a disconnect. I won't lie and be disingenuous. There was a little bit of a disconnect, but it still hurt to see that. I mean, at any moment in time, I could be the next person, and it's very unfortunate that I've had this experience. But several years back, 4 years ago, so before the pandemic happened, my mother was actually a victim to something like this. We ended up fighting it in court and then losing for some reason. So it was very disheartening to have memories like this flood back and realize that it very much impacted my own home. So yeah, it was kind of a scary time. I basically just went to work and came directly home. Again, all my friends texted me and made sure that I was safe, and it was like I felt that they were not overbearing, but they were like I felt like it was too much. But at the same time, I understood that it was very much a real threat, real presence. So yeah.
Are you still in Virginia or somewhere else?
Yeah. I'm still in Virginia.
Oh wow. Okay. Um, yeah. So I feel kind of lucky that I was living in San Francisco during the pandemic because, excuse me, um, San Francisco, at least the area, seemed to deal with it pretty well. We, I mean, we had a lockdown, like even before everyone else had a lockdown, and
Hmm.
people, for the most part, seemed okay with it. And there weren't any weird riots, or as far as I know, any weird situations like weird Karens like exploding all over the place and like having to put on a mask or anything. I don't think
Yeah.
that kind of thing happened in SF, but um,
Well, I mean, San Francisco also has the benefit of being home of counterculture. So there, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just very inclusive, very fun place.
it has that history. Yes. Um, I think. Um, yeah. So it was. Yeah. So it was okay. I didn't feel too threatened,
Hmm.
and it was kind of pleasant to go get groceries, and wear a mask. And I actually kind of found it comforting that all the businesses were kind of ready with uh, with all the things like the mask and the rules and everything. It's
Hmm.
like they just followed along and stepped in and did it, and we kind of all got along with it. It was kind of a smooth experience for me, anyways. Um, so yeah, so it's always weird to hear experiences of COVID in other cities where there's people not like causing a fuss because they don't want to wear a mask and like
I mean, it definitely was mayhem over here because I'm by the Capitol. I'm by Washington D.C. So that insurrection stuff is very very close to home.
oh yeah, that's weird.
It's wild, dude. It's wild.
Yeah, I just sometimes I wonder if this whole pandemic kind of started a butterfly effect as far as all the weird political stuff now happening, or at least just made it worse. Um, I don't know.
I think
I
it just made
I
it more
wonder about that.
mainstream to be. No, okay. I think the internet. Okay, so everybody being locked down. I think the internet is what caused it, right? That this this time where we're overly connected with each other. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that once the pandemic hit and everybody was at home and basically left to their own devices outside of their routine, I think that people started being more honest on the internet, and that honesty breeds well ignorance and plenty of other things. I mean, I'm sure that honesty has bred a lot of cool things, but also at the same time, um, it has led to a junction of messiness. I think to put it politely.
it's definitely a Pandora's box of First Amendment issues. It's interesting.
Well, how did
um,
you how did you find your way through the pandemic? Did you have any inspiration, or were you? I mean, you say you're an introvert, so this is kind of where you thrived. Did you just find things to be busy with, skills that you wanted to learn, things that you wanted to do?
well, yeah. Yeah, I touched on it a little bit, but I started learning Blender
Hmm.
3D, and I started um, learning animation, like 2D animation. Just um, I was kind of into it. I just kind of got into it because I was interested, but um, and I only really did that because I just wanted something to put on Byte to be interesting,
Hmm.
and because I wasn't really interested in showing my face or doing performance art or singing or anything like that. So I thought, all right, animation, some sort of art, that's the thing that I will share to the world as far as video is concerned. So I started doing that, and honestly, it kind of my interest kind of blossomed in my desire to make like music videos, and I thought, I'm kind of learning a lot of interesting things that
Music videos, huh?
and for music videos. So I thought,
like animated music videos.
animated in some respects, yeah, I think so. I think that would be pretty cool.
Oh, okay, cool. Because this is a very little known fact about me. I'm going to share this with you. I actually used to direct music videos.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, not animated, like obviously, music videos, but hip hop music videos to be exact. I was even in one, but
Oh, you should talk about that.
I made 12 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a very what's it called? It was a very short-lived endeavor, to be honest with you. I was very I
That
ended
sounds
up
like a career, though.
I mean, it was a very cool career. I just it was short-lived because with the hip hop scene, I kind of got tired of having guns pointed at me. So I felt like it was my time to exit. No, there was actually a lot of creative differences. I wanted to be. I'm a huge fan of movies.
Are you speaking metaphorically or literally as far as the guns are
No,
concerned?
literally.
Oh, okay.
Literally. Yeah, but I'm a huge fan of movies, so I wanted to be director in the sense of like creator, writer, director. I wanted to tell this nuanced story. Obviously my cohorts that I was spending time filming around wanted more nonsense, which is perfectly fine. That's again, I would just chalk it up to creative differences. But yeah, again, huge fan of movies, but I ended up taking that detour for a short period of time.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, game. I think game dev is cool, but it's like there's all these other things that if you have the time you could try, and it's yeah, the challenge is really like figuring out what do you want to spend the most time on, and like time management is a thing that I was not necessarily very good with, and it's like um yeah, so that's awesome that you're able to have that experience, and maybe hopefully in the future you can do it again.
I'm sure I'll return to it. I do want to direct something in the future, but right now I think I'm gonna spend my time as a film school reject and spend time in the video game development industry and other things.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think video games is great for me because it's like the greatest intersection of art, music, interactivity, and movies
I think so.
because of the scale of games now.
I think there's still a lot of room to grow. There's still a lot of things that haven't been tried, and I think there's also a lot of voices that haven't had a chance. There's a lot of people that haven't had a chance to actually get to a point where they can create something with in this industry and have a platform to do it. And
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk. I mean, what would you like to see?
Um, so I like the direction that the film industry is going. Okay. So first of all, as far as mentioning names and like directors and people that I admire, sometimes I won't remember them. So sometimes I'm gonna have a hard time. Like,
Oh,
mentioning.
I'm a huge cinephile. So go. I mean, if you name a movie or name a style, I probably know them.
Okay. All right. Cool. So yeah. So first of all, I think I mentioned film, but like
Yes.
video games as well. I think diversity is probably the best thing that could happen to any industry, the film industry, video game industry, uh, eh, only because that's where new ideas are. That's where the imagination is, and it's like, um, if you want an industry to evolve, make progress, like, you're gonna get tired of making sequel after sequel of like already existing property, and there's you gotta have new voices, and if there's new voices coming from completely different cultures that didn't necessarily have a platform to begin to earlier, then I think more power to them. I think that would be an awesome thing. It only means there's going to be more cooler video games and more cooler movies out there to watch and experience. So I kind of look forward to it. Yeah, that's that. I think that's my yeah. That's
Yeah,
my,
I'm just interested on I mean, just giving more people a platform. I think with the way Unreal Engine and everything is growing at such a, well, just an absolutely massive rate, I think that it's inevitable before we get massively diverse voices. I mean, I saw a showcase for a show or for a video game called I think it was like Volcano High, and it was like the entire studio was women led, women directing, women writing. I think there was like a couple guys on board, but it was like majority women. And it's like, that's cool. Like, that's nice to have a mainstay like that. And then, of course, if you know the game Cana, Bridge of Spirits.
I'm familiar with it. I haven't played it yet.
It's very fascinating to hear that they're Josh and Brian Greer. I think those are their names. I apologize if you guys are watching or if you guys are listening and I butchered that, but they are like the first game studio to be owned by Black Americans. And it's like fascinating, but also kind of disheartening to hear that they're the first. Does that make sense? Like, it's wow, it's been so long. Like, games have been alive for 30, 40, 50 years. And it's like, now you're just the first. But it's nice to see that we're entering this decade with a lot of firsts, with a lot of new IPs, new intellectual prowess, new, just in general, new talent, new blood.
Yeah, exactly. That movie that just came out from Pixar, Turning Red, was
Did you watch it?
pretty awesome. I loved it.
I haven't seen it yet. I should get on that. Tell me about it. Tell me. I mean, review it. I don't know. I don't know if you're.
Well, as much as I can be able to describe it. I mean, it's a Pixar animation. It's like it is one of those coming of age stories. And
which I'm a total sucker for.
Yeah, and the protagonist is female, and her crew basically, and it's about her growing up, and it's like she has this way of turning into like this huge panda. It's kind of a metaphor for like basically reaching puberty. And I thought, just as far as I thought the story was cool, but just as far as man, like the animation, just the animation itself, the art direction was just gorgeous, beautiful, and I think movies like that are really inspiring. And I just use that as an example of just like more diversity in filmmaking. But honestly, even if I didn't know who was behind it, I think it was one of the most coolest animation movies that I've seen in a while. Especially when you see the panda explode back into the girl. The explosion animation, all the sparkly bits that animate or just looked really cool. Yeah, it was just neat.
I mean, are there any other sources of inspiration for you? I mean, for me, a lot of it comes from movies. To me, I watch a butt ton of movies, and I'm like, this is so cool, and I just want to steal all of this stuff.
Movies, man, like science fiction, horror movies, music as well. And music actually is a really huge inspiration. I would say that yeah, I'd say when I'm working, music is probably the best thing to get inspired by for me. Um, uh, and yeah, I mean, I can give examples. I guess I don't know how much detail I can go. I would say everything is inspiring to me as far as an artist is concerned. I mean, taking a walk outside and just noticing like trash on the sidewalk or graffiti or murals or um, like even oh man even a garbage can that's kind of a kind of weirdly adjacent to like an opening to a store or something. Just weird like visual stuff. Everything is like visual, so it's like anything visual is really inspiring.
Yeah, photography is a hobby of mine.
Yeah,
and so I can kind of relate to the idea like just taking a walk outside is it's just a fresh palette, you know.
Yeah, I you can tell I get excited about talking about it because I
Go ahead, talk about it. This is your moment.
yeah. So photography was definitely something that I was really into for a while.
Yeah.
Even when I had cameras that were like really really low resolution, it was still fun to just like, I think it came from like just going to art school, having that kind of experience, and like having a trained eye, just looking for compositions and color studies and all that. But that was just a fun thing to do, to go outside, spend a couple hours, and just look for visual treasures and just take photos of things and compositions and colors. That was more difficult, so I didn't do that much. I mostly photographed trees and cracks in the sidewalk and murals and things like that. That was kind of inspiring. But yeah, that's also a thing that really helped me just stay creative and get the creative juices flowing. Um, oh yeah, Another thing is drawing from life, drawing workshops, drawing people, drawing things. Like learning how to draw those things is really also a good way to keep fresh as far as keeping your brain juices nice and warm and happy. So keep the creative juices flowing. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of art, I am actually appreciative that you included an extra thing of art in my commissioned work from you, which was completely unnecessary. So I did get a chance to thank you, but I'm again thanking you formally, vocally this time. I just want to again show my gratitude towards that. That was
yeah. The music thing, right? The something else.
Yeah, you had I had commissioned the weekend, and then you slipped in an extra piece.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so thank you for that.
Oh, that's right. You're welcome. I would like to do that more. It's weird figuring out how to ask people on the internet if they would like me to do commissions. And this comes in where I'm not very good at promoting myself or like being like a good professional illustrator as far as like asking people if they want a thing and if they would like to spend money on that thing. And it's like it's a negotiation I'm still trying to figure out online. Like, hey, commissions are open, like do this thing and for this amount of money. And it's I'm still trying to figure out how to ask it in a way that isn't weird for me, I guess.
Oh, I mean, yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm terrible. I actually don't share my art. I don't share my art at all. I don't know. I just feel like it's once you put it out there in the world, it's I don't know. I don't know how you deal with it, but it's freaking terrifying.
I make lots of terrible art. That's how I do it. I there are times when I cannot. There are times when I can't draw and I don't feel motivated to draw. So so when that happens, I make I do a compromise. I decide, all right, I want to force myself to draw. So I'm just gonna draw purposely really bad art. And just and that's how I would get out of my creative funk, so to speak. Like, man, I don't even know the phrase. What do you call it? It's like artist block.
Art block? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like when I'm there and I kind of want to make art, but I can't seem to for some reason. The best way is to say, I can't swear on here, but I'll say screw it. So
Yeah.
I'll say screw it. I'll just make garbage. I'll make garbage art. I'll make crap on the paper, and doesn't matter if it's good or not. And eventually, I'll discover some sort of flow that happens when I'm doing that in that process, and something kind of takes over, and I kind of find a groove again after a while if I keep at it.
Yeah, that for me, that's screw it mentality comes in the form of stickers. I love making stickers because my significant other likes stickers. So I really just make stickers and art for her.
Neat.
And I don't she has them all over her computer in her water bottle.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. I've been wanting to make stickers as well. I've been wanting to make so many things and sell it online on Big Cartel or Etsy or Society6, and I've been kind of scheming to do that. I have like original art and hopefully paintings soon that will be available for sale. But for the longest time I've been trying to just figure that out as well. And just
let me get your first painting. How about that?
What's that?
I said, let me get your first painting. How about that?
You're sold. You're on it.
I will bid on it. I will fight tooth and nail for it.
And hopefully in the future, if I ever have another interview again, I'll be better at that. I do apologize. I'm doing my best at this interview. I think man, I'm just mumbling a lot. Like I'm doing my best.
I think you're just being too hard on yourself. I think you're doing fine. Frankly,
Okay.
to me, the time has flown like incredibly. So, and I actually haven't really asked you that many questions that I have written down. So I guess we could just get air quotes here back on track.
Yeah.
When did you know you wanted to become an artist or just work in the industry in general? Like, did you just wake up one day and thought this would be cool, or did you wake up one day and collab with your brother and thought to yourself like, I actually really like this?
So, as far as an artist, I went to art school.
Mhm.
I had the artist bug in high school, and
Yeah.
I started making my own comics in high school. They were horrible, of course.
Do you still have any?
I have a few, and they were all horror comics. As far as I knew, I tried to make it as gory as possible because I kind of grew up on horror films.
We have that in common. I strive to make horror video games.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Those. Yeah, I can't play those for some reason.
I am a I can't play them either, but I would love to make them. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why.
Actually, I can tell you why I can't play them. For one reason is because they're not accessible to me. I don't have a PC,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of horror games aren't on the particular platforms that I have for some reason. I've been wanting to play the Resident Evil series for a while, but like sometimes it's just it's released on PC or PS4 or some platform that I don't have at the moment, so I just never get around to playing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another tangent.
Art school. Art school.
Yeah, horror comics.
Yep.
yeah. Um, I was so that was at least that was inspiring. The horror movies in the past were inspiring. I think that's where it started. Just me creating stuff. Um, my first horror movie was Aliens. I saw it when I was 13, I think. I don't know why they let me in the theater, but it was like I guess they didn't care. So that was awesome. Um, and I think after that I just started getting into like because of like the first game dev job I had in 19 in the company I will not name. Um, uh, I started doing like figuring out digital art, and
Hmm.
back then it was just pixel art. So there was no 3D, and you really couldn't do anything more advanced than like really low resolution pixel art stuff. But that quickly changed, of course. Um, although I think like Castle Wolfenstein and Doom came out around that time, like 80, 89, 90,
Hmm.
91. Not
Yeah,
quite
somewhere around there.
sure. So yeah, I guess there was sort of 3D, quote unquote 3D. Um, but um, yeah, and then I think when I was in school, I got into like indie comics. I wasn't really into superhero comics,
Hmm.
but I really got into indie comics like like hate comics, like Weirdo by Daniel Klaus. Robert Crumb was a huge influence. I found a lot of his stuff, and I was like, I really loved his art style. Um, Evan Dorkin, who did Milk and Cheese um, and like a series based off of like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He did a comic book
Oh,
series based on that.
oh, that's neat.
Um, and his latest uh, comic series I think is called Beasts of Burden.
Okay.
And he's on Twitter. You can follow him, and he's still making comics. I still follow a lot of comic book artists. That's still a medium that is just I just find amazing because it's like I mean it's kind of like storyboarding. So I mean a lot of there's quite a few movies that have had like movie adaptations from comic books. And Ghost World was one of them. That's one example. And Ghost World was Daniel Klaus's uh, comic book story that was turned into a movie. Um, and that's a great comic book, actually. Even better than the film, I think. But so that medium was really inspirational. Video games, I think. I think I started getting back into video games when I was working at Danger, when the PS2 was around. I started getting into. I didn't necessarily get into like third-person shooting games. I wasn't really into the violent games for some. I was really into the weird games, and I don't know why, but they just kind of appealed to me. Um, Double Fine came out with their game, Psychonauts,
Yes,
and
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of
yeah,
Psychonauts.
I'm a huge fan as well. I would say that would be my dream company if I was to work in game dev. Uh, who knows? But games like that had it just I just felt like it was crafted by artists. You know, it just had that feel. It just games like that just they're they have a character that looks like it was really put together with love and care, and it was just off the beaten path. Like it didn't it tried new things, and so games like that. So and uh, so yeah, another game was Katamari Damacy, which was another one that blew my mind.
Wow.
I don't know
You
if you've
are.
ever played it.
Yes, I actually, these games that inspire you are games that I have played in the past when I was much younger.
Oh, yeah, it that game was awesome. You basically roll a ball of stuff around, and it gets bigger, and then it goes into weird, goofy somewhat sexual segues, and yeah, it was a weird game, but it was cool.
It's very creative. It was something that we needed in the industry because it was. I mean, it was unlike anything else. I have yet to find a game that was like it.
Yeah, had an awesome soundtrack too. And actually, that was the first. I think that was the first game where it's like, it was a cool game, but also had a cool soundtrack, and that's a combo I always kind of look for too. I see that more and more with indie games.
Yeah,
They always have a really neat soundtrack.
man, for good games and good soundtrack, Mega Man 2 and Jet Set Radio were mine.
Oh yeah, man! I never got a chance to play Jet Set Radio, but I, I think yeah. So man, there are so many games I didn't get to play because just I just didn't have access to the platform. If I had my hands on a Nintendo, I'd probably be playing. I would have probably played a lot more Nintendo games when I was younger, but I don't know. I think I just started with PS2, and I think before then it was like yeah. So I grew up with weird platforms before there were even before Nintendo, and it was just yeah, I don't know. So it was kind of like my experience is kind of strange, but um, I think also, man. So I got lost in thought right there. Sorry about that. I think the ADHD is kicking in again. Um,
It's all good, man. It's all good.
uh, I'm thinking of so okay. Sorry, I was thinking of other games that I was playing, but basically, yeah, games like that I started getting into again, and it just kind of went from there. Um, and I think also comics. I started getting into making comics, only because I started meeting people in San Francisco when I first moved there, and I met this group of people that were involved in a group called the Cartoonist Conspiracy, and we got together and just kind of made comics together, and I just ended up started self-publishing comics from there. And there was this really neat art challenge called 24-hour comic jam, where you would make comics, and um, you would basically spend like a whole night, like 24 hours, making a comic from beginning to end. And
Was there like a length requirement,
uh,
or was it just like, whatever you came to mind?
I think whatever you can do. Yeah.
Oh,
I always went for 24 pages, but even that was kind of a stretch, hard to do. But it was a good creative challenge. I don't know if I can do it now, but maybe. But yeah, lots of late nights doing that. Um, and that's actually also how I met Doc through that group. And I also started making music again because of Doc. I made it earlier, but my friend Doc Pop, I'll probably be mentioning him quite a bit. But um, yeah, yeah. Thankfully, through the friends I've met in living in San Francisco, I was able to like keep my interest going in comics and making music and even video games. My friend Nikolai was also a huge inspiration as far as like getting more into video games, because I think when you meet that friend who's really passionate, I think it kind of rubs off onto you, right? And you kind of get inspired as well. And he was really into certain types of games. He was also into like really weird games, like weird games that were off the beaten path, and like did something different and kind of revolutionary. So he was always aware of those kind of games. And um so yeah, I kind of just kind of I think I can just thank my friends and family for just who I am and the reason I keep doing art, I guess. Because I know there's people out there that dig it, and Yeah, so thankfully now I can just kind of do it on my own. But yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, but
No, it definitely did. Um, there was another IP that you worked on, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right?
yeah,
How was that?
Um, yeah. So that was another game for Sifteo. I was actually on the verge of talking about that before I segued into something else, but
It's all good, man. It's all good.
yeah, but yeah, that was a cool product to work on. We got to chat with the team at Nickelodeon a couple of times to work on that. They were also coming out with their version um, of the show on Nickelodeon at the
Hmm.
time. It was like 2010, 2011, I think.
Okay.
Um, I thought the show was pretty cool. It was like a all 3D animated. Um, had a cool look. So yeah, I think our collaboration came at the right time for them to promote their show and stuff. But um, yeah, it was done on the Sifteo platform, and I think it was probably one of, if they had any hits, it was probably one of their biggest hits. Um, but again, it was kind of an obscure platform, so it didn't do quite as well as it could have done, I think. Um, but um, but it was kind of a cool experience, anyways. Um, I didn't. So I did a lot of pixel art for that and a lot of animation for that as well, and it was really neat to design a game that took place on a really small screen, and I I'm amazed it got made. To tell you the truth, the screen's like it's like an inch by inch thick, and you put them together and to basically create the game board. And yeah, I'm amazed that we were able to uh, design games on that platform. It was a cool platform, and I wish it could have gone further. I think.
Was it difficult to design for it? It seemed like you had to, uh, I don't know, you had to keep movement in mind, um, because you had the tilt controls and connecting them.
I'd say I'd say we were limited as far as what we can do,
Hmm.
but I think that made the process a little easier because we didn't have as many things to consider as far as designing. So there was like tilting in each direction and like shaking and a few other gestures you could do. I think you can push the screen as well, but yeah. So it was basically we were just working from that, like tilting, shaking, tapping, and we had those parameters to work from, and I think it was okay. I you couldn't do anything. You have to do very 2D flat 2D stuff. You couldn't do any 3D stuff. I don't think. Um, so lots of sliding characters, lots of popping things. Yeah, very basic stuff, but it was mostly geared towards educational stuff too.
Hmm.
I think there was some divide as far as like is it for just arcade games? Is it just for educational games? And um, so the direction on that was kind of mixed.
Mm.
And
Did Nickelodeon have a huge hand in that, or did they basically just hand you whatever resources you needed?
um, they they just they were just there to make sure that their IP was on point as far as in the game, like it being recognizable, like all the characters being recognizable,
Hmm.
and it taking place in a familiar setting, familiar to the story. So that was the extent of their involvement. As far as the design of the game, that was up to us. So I think we had a lot of freedom in that regard.
Oh, that's good. You
Yeah.
always hear again. You always hear stories about companies and management and suits in general dipping their hands into the creative process, where they are basically newcomers in.
Well, yeah, we were. Well, yeah, we were newcomers as well. I mean, to the whole game industry. So, our platform. Um, so as far as game dev is concerned, you can see where I'm kind of like I'm nervous to talk about it because I never really thought I never really felt like I fit into the game industry is what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
I always felt like I was on the outskirts because I never worked for an actual game company, a company that just made games, and that was their thing. Um, and yeah, so I can't. So it's going to be a different experience, and it's yeah. So
Well, I welcome that experience. I welcome that you talk about it because it's something that I don't hear every single day, and it's something that that people just in general don't hear every single day.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
closer to startup culture, to
But
tell you the truth.
that's like really cool though, because that's something that, again, like you were on the fringe of like internet boom, technology boom, all of that stuff, and I think that that hugely impacts either the way you work in that time in an era where new technology is emerging constantly, left and right. Proprietary platforms are popping up left and right, whereas I've had the luxury of developing on basically a closed platform, or basically the entity of the big three, notable platforms, notable developers, notable companies. Processes and templates have already been designed, implemented, and followed, and the groundwork has been laid. So comparing
That's gotta be nice, though. At least you have a guideline. That's,
yeah, but comparing and contrasting that to somebody who was essentially making the guidelines, is
man,
is super awesome.
I it I guess it could be. That it's also frustrating because making the guidelines, like making something from scratch, especially a platform,
Mm-hmm.
is I don't know, it's gonna take a couple of iterations, and it's not necessarily gonna be great right out the gate, but it could be. Um, I think in the case of the companies that I worked for, I think they had some great products out the gate. The T-Mobile Sidekick was pretty amazing, and the Sifteo cubes were pretty cool. I would say I on squirrelwarz. I would say the only I think the if I had anything negative to say about the experience, I would say that I we didn't use something like Unity that
Mm-hmm.
kind of existed back then, or Unreal. We didn't use an existing engine to make a game. We made the decision to make our own engine, and that's something else that can cause game development to like be really slow, I think. Um, Instead of just using an already existing game engine.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say if I were to do anything different, I would say I would want to do a game on an already existing engine where I know I can have really cool tools and do really cool things with, and I wouldn't have to worry about that aspect. And I would think that would save a lot of time and stress as well, I think. Um, Actually, yeah, that would be my advice as well. Like, don't do the work of creating your engine unless you like doing that kind of thing. Yeah, because it's gonna take a while.
It's a
So
headache. I mean, while
yeah,
the benefits are, you any of the tools that you need, you made everything that you need, you have, but
yeah,
dedicating that time to, well, I mean, essentially laying the groundwork for yourself and just solely yourself is very hard.
it's. I respect anyone who is really good at marketing themselves and selling themselves. I looked up to them and hopefully learned something from them. um, and again, My attentions were kind of stretched because I was in game dev, but I also had the desire to be standalone artist, and I didn't have the time to really figure out how to do that. So, um, and that's why I feel like I felt like I really haven't found any great success yet. So, because I feel like I just need focus on a thing to get really good success. Um, I feel like I'm on the cusp of it, but hopefully this is a good year. I feel like good things are going to happen.
No,
This year.
I believe it. There's actually what something completely random, but I know that Bungie and is hiring for a bunch of remote locations, and I think California is an area that they're supporting. North Carolina as well too, but you're not on the East Coast. So I would implore you, and Naughty Dog is hiring over there in Santa Monica, and yeah, a bunch of these notable game development companies are hiring for artists and stuff like that. So I wouldn't think that it would be detrimental to you to just shoot something their way.
I really should. I really should just apply to places that I want to work at. Yeah, to everywhere.
Yeah, you just do it. Again, that was I mean, you said you listened to the first episode. That was a golden nugget of advice that I was given, was just apply. Everybody's always hiring, and you never know when they'll take it or when they'll support you.
Yeah. I should take that advice.
But I mean, again, I'm very happy that we connected. We're mutuals and acquainted via the internet. So I can't imagine meeting anybody that I admire more on the art side of things. I mean, there was another person that I'd really admired, but she was going through some rough stuff, and I actually met her in 2016, and I'm a big fan of her art, but she's kind of just disappeared, so I don't know where she went.
Oh, well, I'm sure she'll come around.
I'm sure she will. But yeah, well, is there any questions that you wanted to ask me?
Well, actually, yeah. I want to know if you can talk about what game you're working on, and like where are you working? What are you up to?
Well, after Ubisoft, so we launched Watch Dogs Legion in 2019.
That's right.
Yeah, and then we had a battle pass. Well, not a battle pass. It was like a season pass thing, and working on that a little bit. And honestly, a lot of the time I was just struggling to. And I spent a lot of time talking to my brother and my friends about this, whether or not I just continue wanting to be there, because it was just too much. It was an endless cycle of emails and bantering and back and forth, and I just felt like there wasn't anything that I truly had control over. Just because things were moving so fast, and all the requests that I had were basically being denied. I wanted to be moved to the Splinter Cell team. I'm a huge fan of stealth action games, so I wanted desperately to be over there, but they basically kept canning the reboot. And yeah, so I just eventually got tired, and in January of 2020, it was like January or February, I got headhunted by how do I say this? I got headhunted by somebody who basically works for Microsoft and their government contract.
Oh wow. Okay.
Sector. So he basically wanted to know. He wanted my portfolio and to see if I was able to work on a training program for Space Force.
Oh, okay.
And this was a very huge jump for me. It was something that I could not turn down, if that makes sense. It was something that I desperately wanted to be a part of. I think I remember my brother listening to me just absolutely losing my mind over phone calls for like a week because it was just phone tag left and right, left and right. And I got reached out through LinkedIn, and this is something that they wanted fresh blood. They wanted somebody with experience in the game industry, because essentially the training program is, a large video game.
Oh wow.
Except for just VR, AR, and less, controller inputs. So they wanted somebody with a fresh mind from a reputable company that essentially did good work. So they were headhunting a bunch of people. So my coworkers were people from Activision, people that worked on Call of Duty, people that worked with James Cameron's The Avatar. Essentially everybody was like a decade or 15 years my senior. So it was at the time 2020. Let's see. I was 23. So it was very nerve-wracking. I was very anxious every day for those phone calls to go back and forth.
And you're talking about the United States Space Force.
Yes, actual Space Force.
That's neat. The fact that I could imagine the training experience for that.
It was I got design documents, I got stuff that unfortunately I can't share, or maybe I can never share, but I got so much like futuristic stuff in my email, and and it's like I don't even know how to describe it. It was just mind-numbing, searing even, to think that I was about to jump into something, essentially the 12-foot end pool.
Oh, wow.
And without any parachute, any life vests or anything like that, I don't know, I just felt compelled. I just pulled the trigger. I was on phone calls all day, every day for the entire week. And when he finally said, dude, so do you have anybody that you work with closely that you can bring on? I jumped at the chance of calling my closest friend and was like, let's do it.
Oh, awesome. So are you working for them now, like officially, or?
I mean, it's an experience. That's all I can say.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. That's all I have to say.
Okay. I mean, I didn't even know. I was wondering if there's still a thing, if Space Force is still existing. So
yeah, they just announced the uniforms not too long ago.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that then. Unfortunately, now the only thing I've heard about it is like the show that's kind of loosely based on it, which is weird. So Space Force on Netflix, and
with Steve Carell. Yeah, that's
corny stuff, but unfortunately,
is it funny? Is it good?
It's okay. It's okay. Like again, it's like it's that thing where it's like I can spend only so much time watching stuff before I lose interest, and I need to start making stuff again. So
okay. That's understandable.
But yeah, that's a cool experience. That's awesome.
Yeah, like I said, I sent them a bunch of my work and some UI stuff, some 3D modeling stuff, just basically anything that I had my hands on, and they liked it. Like I said, it was cool. I don't know if I could talk about pay, but that was something that was like, I can't turn this down either. So it was just a lot. It was overwhelming, I think is the best word to put it. Overwhelming for a 23-year-old.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. That's wow.
And I ended up calling essentially my older brother, who is a drill sergeant in the Army. And I had called him and was like, hey, man, are these guys legit? That was the first phone call I made.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, my God. This is real.
that's cool. I just imagine anyone that needs to work for the federal government has to also go through like training, like like, well, if you're gonna make a video game about it, you better go into training and learn how to shoot a gun and all that.
Well,
And,
yeah, actually, my friend, not my friend, my older brother, basically, I'm sure it's on my Twitter. I'm sure you might have seen it, the pinned tweet.
oh yeah, oh shit, oh yeah. So
Yeah.
there we go again. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you posted like some photos of like doing some gun training. I remember that.
Yeah, it was it was very intense. We were in a very famous location in like right outside of Microsoft headquarters. Um yeah, like just it was again super cool. And I don't even know how to I genuinely don't even know how to describe it. I basically got through the functions. They basically gave me any pick of anything humanly possible. Like Sang just was like, whatever you want to shoot. So just
Oh wow,
pick. I was like, can I shoot everything? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh my god. So it was, yeah, it was. I don't even know how much I could say, but it was just really cool. He gifted me some gloves, some military headphones, which were like thousands of dollars. Gear, everything, the whole 9 yards, and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be perks. I would say, yeah. I mean, I guess when you're experiencing it right now, you're in it. So I would imagine it's kind of hard to describe unless you've got a few years afterwards.
Eventually it'll digest.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, essentially, I got professional training, so I know how to do everything and anything in a real combat situation. So yeah, like it's again
cool.
professional training. It was like 3 days of professional training.
Oh wow.
And we were in there, and we were the only ones in there. Like they cleared out the entire place. So it was, yeah, pretty much anything that I could ever imagine was there. I could build my own rifle and do the whole 9 yards.
As far as I know, the military has sort of a video game setup or gamification kind of thing going on, where they've got like a thing you strap yourself into and you kind of experience as far as on the field.
Yes, the OmniTrack.
Yeah,
is what it's called. It's like this giant treadmill that moves in 8 directions.
Okay.
You strap in and then you can walk. And it's this huge VR panels and like.
So it's VR. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you run it, you know your character actually runs in game. If you crouch, it crouches. You know. Yeah, it's super cool.
Oh man. Yeah, VR, man, VR is another thing, another frontier that's happening.
It's in its infancy, I still believe.
Yeah. That's kind of, I'll admit that's one thing that also got me excited about learning 3D, just because I wanted to be ahead of the game and be part of that experience if there's a chance. So I think that's another driving force of me learning 3D. So. If anyone is wondering why I started learning it, yeah, there's before the NFT started going crazy. There was this 3D artist called oh my god, am I gonna mispronounce his name now? Son of a Yeah, I'm probably gonna mispronounce his name. Oh man. Anyways, he was this artist on Twitter that was posting amazing 3D stuff of like a giant robot Clin, and like he would take pop culture elements and throw it into like a 3D landscape and add robots and giant buildings and animate them, and I think he did like a giant robotic Donald Trump at one point, like destroying the earth or something, or like chomping on things, eating people. I think.
Yeah.
And why do I want to call him? Oh my god, am I showing my age now? Holy crap! Bleep, bleepo, bleep, bleep, blip. Shit. Yeah. Sorry. I'm totally bad at this.
It's all good, man.
Anyways, he had a name,
Yep.
and I should know it, and I don't, and I feel really bad. But I guess it's been out of sight, out of mind for a while, and that's the thing. That's the thing that happens
With ADHD, yeah.
with with anything, if it's not in your vernacular, if it's not rolling around in your brain all the time, you're gonna kind of forget about it after a while. So. And I guess maybe that's a good thing that I'm forgetting about the origin story of NFTs. So,
Are you? I guess the last question I have for you here is that, how do you feel about it? Are you going to dive into it?
dive into
NFTs.
That's
It's a topic of contention between
oh no
artists and just in general.
I will say that I've always been interested in the concept of it. Not necessarily the form that it has taken right now, but I like the idea of selling things, selling art, selling products in a virtual reality environment, the metaverse, if you will. And it hasn't gotten there yet, I don't think, but I like the idea of going into a virtual gallery and like checking out art and like or making my own virtual reality and like showcasing art and stuff and selling it. But I don't know. It still feels like it's not a video game, and it's not I don't know. It's the more I think about it, the less excited I get about it. It's always kind of felt like a pyramid scheme to me, like just a way to make money for crypto bros. And I mean,
it just seems like an area where people have too much expendable income have grouped together to continue to make more expendable income.
I feel there's something there that's better, that's yet to come, that will be derived from this whole thing, but it hasn't made itself known yet, I don't think. I'm sure lots of people are working on it, but yeah, it's. I'll see when the metaverse comes and you're able to like purchase NFTs or something similar to it online in that moment. I think the evolution of NFTs will be really cool. I like the idea that maybe you can, like, there's an NFT that's interactive, an NFT that you can open and play like a game, and only you can do it, and only you can experience that, and it's like a gateway to another part of the metaverse that only you have access to. So it's kind of like a key to a very private place that's constructed for that particular experience that only the holder of the coin can experience. I haven't seen anything like that yet, but that would be kind of cool. The whole idea of like a flat, boring image doesn't make it. This is not interesting to me. If it was just something more, if it had more dimension to it, more interactivity, then I think it would start getting more exciting, and maybe the metaverse is the thing that will allow that to happen. Maybe, I don't know. So, but yeah, so I'm still looking at it. I'm still paying attention to it because I could see it growing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to ignore. You know, it's constantly in the news cycle. It's like the next big thing. It's like the next big tiger market. I mean, you inevitably have to turn your eyes and ears towards it as an artist, I assume.
There was a huge split between traditional artists and NFT artists, and I definitely follow a lot of traditional artists that definitely did not like the whole idea, especially because there was so much there was so much art being stolen
Hmm.
to make these things, like stolen from people that have made NFTs and decided just to use other people's artwork. And that kind of, basically, that kind of activity kind of ruined any kind of impression you could have on the whole thing. Um, so, yeah. Um,
Okay.
I, th-
You mentioned comics earlier, and I wanted to say that I grew up on Calvin and Hobbes.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So did
so
I.
we may share that in common.
Yeah, I could say that I grew up in the 80s and I also grew up in the 90s. So, if you know what I mean. So,
How I guess this is solely for just our age difference. What were you doing in 97?
in 97, um, I was in art school.
Hmm.
I was very influenced by films coming out. Um, I think I think Dark City came out in 1999. But I was always into like movies like that that were existential, that kind of bent reality and took you to another place.
Yeah.
Um, that kind of stuff was always inspiring to me. As far as video games, I don't even remember playing video games at that time. Right there, I don't think it was a
Well, I
huge
mean,
influence.
it could be anything, you know. Like, what were you doing in school? Like, do you remember a project that you were working on? Who were your friends? I mean, were you,
Oh no, I was so
I
I
don't know,
was full
dabbling
on.
in drugs? Like, there could be a ton of things that you were doing in 97, you know?
I had my head in my sketchbook.
Oh,
I
okay.
pretty much went anywhere, everywhere, and sketched stuff. And um, I think that's where I met my I met some I think that's where I met some folks who were getting into gaming. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of that's past Quake, right? That's I mean there was other
97 was Half-Life, Quake.
Half-Life Quake. Okay.
Well, it was like Half-Life 2, Quake 3, Unreal Engine was becoming a thing. Final Fantasy 7 just came out, and Metal Gear Solid had just released.
Yeah. Yeah, again, yeah. So again, I wouldn't be able to have access to that
Mhm.
because of platform and just not even aware of it. I again also uh, no internet like the kind we have now.
Oh yeah, that must be
I was kind of living in a weird bubble where I had my head full in like being an artist, learning about art, sketching,
mhm.
going to drawing workshops, uh, art parties, a few meeting, trying to meet people. Yeah, it was just completely different. My access to media was basically just uh, movies,
Movies.
lots of films. Uh, Found a lot of really cool and lots of really cool music. Um, I started getting into there was like a psychedelic wave of music back then that started. Um, Tremor Control was a band that I used to listen to a lot, and they belong to the Elephant Six Collective, and they came out of Georgia, and they just made music that was completely different from what was happening at the time. It felt like psychedelic music coming from the 60s. They had that vibe to it,
Hmm.
and I was immediately hooked. And I started looking for music like that. And I would say music was a huge influence in these days. So that's actually a good question. I went from like this psychedelic kind of uh, experimental music to drum and bass. I was really into drum and bass.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I was really into drum and bass because at the time I was also really into hip hop,
Mm.
um, and that also segued into jazz. I was really into lots of different types of music. I think that was really the fuel of my creativity, to tell you the truth. Just I was just really into lots of different types of music, especially any kind of music that just kind of blew my mind and like prompted me to like pull out my sketchbook and start making stuff. So
Oh wow,
that
that's
was the kind
yeah.
of
I like the variety. I like the variety of music that you had in your library.
oh
But again, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. The time again has flown by. It is
oh
it's like 2 hours now. But just to get to the closing questions to wrap this up, unfortunately, what's one piece of advice you can share with with our listeners today about I don't know, becoming an artist?
becoming an artist, or well, here's some general advice. Don't let yourself burn out. Drink lots of water. Take lots of breaks, and get medicated if you're having problems focusing or making huge decisions, or if you've had trauma in the past. Look into getting medicated because it could always help. And don't be ashamed of the fact that you're different from others neurologically, because I think that's probably going to become something that's more mainstream if more people talk about it. But yeah, I don't know. As an artist, yeah, just keep making stuff. Force yourself just to make garbage art if you have artist block. Just make garbage art on purpose. It really helps to get the flow back. I think that's really the only advice I can give right now.
Okay. And two, where can listeners learn more about you?
I'm known as Ekimtiki on the internet. You can spell that as Ekimtiki. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok I'm Ekimtiki2. And I'm also on YouTube. You can find me there as Ekimtiki as well. Yeah, so that is it. Ekimtiki.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for showing interest and being on the show with me. Thank you everybody for listening, and this has been Mike Hales.
Thank you for having me.